There's an old expression that I just made up that says, a man's garden is a man's garden. The truth is, in this case, it's not really my garden. My friends and guests who are joining me today are backyard urban farming company, Bufco, Marc and Arlene Hazzan. They are the geniuses behind the garden and the vegetables I'm able to grow. And I'm delighted to welcome you today, Marc and Arlene. Thank you for being here. I'm very happy to have you here with me today in the studio while I am and you are getting ready to go garden because it's raining this morning. Well, it's a strange time to live in which you weren't sure your industry would be able to open at all, and now your industry's open, and you are my gardeners as well as for many, many other people, and I believe that you do tremendous work because you created an industry leader in backyard urban farming, which is the name of your company, Bufco. I think you do extraordinary things with limited spaces and people's ability and will to bring things from the earth, even if they don't know how. I am a perfect example of someone who's benefited from having you as gardeners. Go ahead. Marc, tell me about why you got into the gardening business.
We got into the gardening business because we got frightened, I think. About 12 years ago, we watched a movie by a Torontonian filmmaker, documentarian, film called The End of Suburbia, about peak oil and how life was going to change when things went awry. It frightened us, and it scared me out of the commercial production industry in film. And Arlene and I kind of thought about what can we do that's going to at least take care of our own space and maybe other people's spaces as well. And we came up with this idea because we already had a love of gardening and I had a love of working with my hands, and we just sort of birthed this idea. So
Arlene, I met you and Marc at a bar mitzvah randomly, Elijah's,
yes.
And
yes.
Saw your truck, took notes, and said, "This is my solution." Arlene, we sat down, we schmoozed, and I absolutely love your passion. Were you always passionate about gardening in the way you are now?
Yeah, we've been growing our own food for, it's got to be 30 years, I would say. Our very first apartment in Toronto when we got married, we started with a very small vegetable garden and we just grew from there. So we've always been gardening.
So can you grow vegetables and food anywhere?
Well, almost anywhere. I mean, if you've got a little soil and a seed and some sun and some water, you could grow a plant pretty well.
Well, I'm going to show the viewers a short video. Turned it into a real garden, planted, soiled, and everything. And then a little bit later, I'm going to show them another video of what happened when we started growing stuff and how much came out of it every week. It's extraordinary what you can do in, 1,000 square feet of garden. It's incredible. And the truth be told, you have facilitated thousands of pounds of vegetables from a garden going to the poor. And we do it in a way that is extraordinary. Through the Manna Project and my friends at Zito's, we sell it to people at a fraction of its true cost. I remember dropping off zucchini flowers. And zucchini flowers, from what I saw at the farmer's market, were going at $5 a piece or $5 a bag, or they were a fortune. And here we were giving them away for virtually nothing. So tell me about the passion that goes into gardening for a greater purpose than just the act of bringing food from the earth.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because we have a neighbor just across our back alley who has been incredibly supportive. She's got a huge backyard, and she allowed us to put our first kind of semi-significant greenhouse up. It was about 350 square feet, where we housed our seedlings, and then we outgrew that, so that had to come down. And now we've just finished negotiating with her the establishment of a little mini farm, about 400 square feet of food growing, with the intention of donating it to food banks and those who are in need. So there's a really direct link there. And we always try and keep sort of one foot in the grassroots, even though our clients tend to be, not always, but they tend to be a little bit more financially comfortable. But we still participate, we still donate, we still give workshops. The grassroots element of what we do, if we were to cut that off, then I feel like the whole plant would die, to use I think, an appropriate analogy.
So how much can you produce out of 400 square feet?
Well, we're going to find out. It will depend on the crops. We've selected high yielding crops. So things like tomatoes, peppers are both, they're both high yielding. And things like greens, like kale, collards, lettuces, those are the kinds of crops that you can cut and then they'll come again. Spinach as well, although it's a cold hardy crop, so it may not be good through the summer. So we're hoping to get at least 2 to 3 successions planted and harvested. So that's what the plan is right now.
So if somebody calls me and says, Yossi, I've got a garden, I have a backyard, I have a plot of land, I am willing to sponsor the Bufco Project, send them over, turn it into a plot of land. Can you take care of it from inception to harvesting? And all they have to do is look out their window once a week and see the farmers, the gardeners there harvesting and literally supporting a family or 2 or 3 or more every single week throughout the summer. Is that the kind of thing you can do? I mean, not can you do it technically, but is that within the framework of your heart space?
Absolutely. Yes, that's what we do. We can start from a bare space and turn it into a thriving, productive, high-yielding farm, urban farm or garden, depending, edible garden.
And it really depends on the vision of the person who we're working with. Some people, a lot of people, are just sort of dipping their toe in the water to see how it feels. So they'll maybe have just one 4-foot by 8-foot garden bed. Like we do a lot of raised beds made out of local wood, like Eastern white cedar. Especially this year with all the challenges, the unique special challenges we're facing with COVID-19, a lot of people are looking for ways to occupy themselves, occupy their kids, learn a little bit about self-sustainability. So they're just kind of, like I said, dipping their toe in, starting small, which we do recommend. They learn along the way as our gardeners come, and we can, at a safe distance, work with them and teach them along the way, so that they do get more than just beautiful food out of it. They get knowledge and confidence, and fewer trips to the grocery store. I mean, the benefits are near endless. Regardless of what your vision is, we can help make it happen. If it's large scale, medium scale, small scale, just starting out, we try to cater to everybody, because what's important to us is to grow growers of whatever scale.
So a couple of really quick questions for you guys, okay? First of all, what do you do about squirrels?
We have a thing called a critter barrier, which is basically a structure of bamboo hoops over which we drape bird netting, and we hook them around the perimeter of the bed, and that will pretty well get rid of them.
Is your industry open right now?
Yes, it just was announced a few days ago, about a week ago, that we can all go back to work. The trick was that because we do food, we were allowed to go back to work long ago, but we delayed for what we felt was a greater good. So yeah, we're all back at it.
With safety protocols.
What is the name of
very
safety? Absolutely. I know that you've instituted that. What is the name of your blog? How do people go follow you?
bufco.ca.
Marc and Arlene, thank you so much for your time today. bufco.ca, go there, get their blog and newsletter, and let's do great things together in the garden. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, Yossi.
Take care.